Yeah, hello all. This is the continuation video of the Android penetration testing. So if you didn't watch the first video, go and watch the thing. In that thing, we have covered up introduction to Android, how an application will be there in the developer's point of view. Along with that, we have done the source code analysis. So in this video, we will be doing static and dynamic analysis on the Diva application. So let's begin. So what you have to do is first you have to open your Genymotion, and inside this you have to make some kind of settings. Open into the get into the settings, go down, get into developer options, and see here whether the USB debugging mode is on or not. So if it not, then you have to make it on, because we will be using the ADB to perform the application analysis. So I have made a documentation and what are the tools required for this penetration testing. I have made one documentation. You can follow that and install what all are the tools required for this thing. And yeah, now okay, now I have for this demo we have downloaded one Diva application, which is a vulnerable application. Here it is there. So now what we have to do is we have to install this device on the Genymotion. So in order to do that, we can download from the device itself, or else we can push this thing. So let's do that. Open the command prompt in the administrator mode. Yeah, now we are here. So let's navigate to a desktop folder. Now I have inside the testing folder I have copied this application Diva. So now what we have to do is we will be using ADB. So ADB is an debugger which is used to connect the Android device with the system. So in order to perform that thing, first let's check whether the ADB is successfully installed or not. Yeah, now you can see ADB version. It means the ADB is available on this device. So let's search for what are the devices, whether it is available. Or now we have enabled the debugging, so we can see here. Yeah, you can see now this is the IP address of the Genymotion device, the virtual Android device. Okay, now what we will be doing is we have to install this application. Now here we can see diva.apk. So we need to install this application, right? So for that, ADB install diva.apk. If you press this thing, then the application will be installed inside this Genymotion device. So now we can see here success message has came. So yeah, here you can see the device has been installed successfully. Also, for example, we have installed some other applications. If you want to get the in order to perform the static analysis, we can do two things. One thing is you can download the APK from the APK pure like that, and you have to dismantle it. Or else what you can do is some of the applications we will be installing from the Play Store. So using the ADB also we can get the application from the from the device too. For example, here we can see we have installed some applications. Let's see. Uh, so now we have got inside the ADB shell. So this is the place, cd data/app is the place where all the installed applications will be seen from here. So here we can see these are all the applications which have been installed. So if you want to get the application of com.example.vulnap2.apk, so what we can do is, okay, I will exit from here. ADB pull is a command to pull the application from the Android device to our computer. Yeah, now you can see this has been downloaded successfully. So let's verify it whether it has been downloaded or not. Yeah, you can see here we have downloaded this application. And another way is you can get the application directly from the device, or you can get it from the Play Store or any third party app, APK or something like that. So okay, for now we will delete this thing, we don't require. Okay, let's first we will begin with the static analysis. So the APK is a package of different files. So what we will be doing is we can do two types of analysis, static analysis. Wait. First rename it to the zip thing. Sorry, first we will make a copy of this application. So now we will rename it to zip file. This is one way of doing it. Now the zip file, you can extract this thing. Yeah, this is the Diva application. So inside this we can see all the files inside the application. Here if we see the Android manifest file, let us see with the notepad. So it is unreadable, so we can't read this thing because this one is already in, it will be in a different format, right? So due to that thing, we can't read this application. And also inside this you can see this one, dex file. So in the first video we remember, right? So the uh, encrypted file will be in the form of in the DVM format, it will be classes.dex. So what we'll be doing is using this classes.dex, we will be converting into the jar file. So using the Java application, we can see the actual source code of the application. So to do that, first what we will doing is we will take this classes.dex file and let us open using this one. Get into this folder. Yeah, here we can see classes.dex. So what we have to do is we have to install, we have to use one application, D2J I found Dextojar, and I have in the documentation you can see how we have to install these applications. So you have to give this one as an input to the application. So now it will be processed and it will generate the jar file. Yeah, here you can see classes dex to jar. So now what we have done is we have converted the dex file into the jar file so that it will be easy for us to read the application. And the another thing is we need one Java JUI version to read the application. Yeah, here is the Java JD GUI. So let us open this application. Yeah, now you can see we have converted the dex file into the Java class file. So from here we can see all the source code of the application. It is which is in the readable format. You can see here, right? All the code which is available will be in the readable format. So okay, let's stop it here and let's see the another way of doing it. So here from this thing we observed like we can't read because this is in a different format. So what we have to do is we have to disassemble the application. So let us rename this first. Diva underscore app.apk. We have renamed like this. So what we'll be doing is we will be using one another tool called apk tool. So which is used to disassemble the application. APK tool D is for disassembling. Hmm. Sorry, I have to go back. Now it will be disassembling the application into the readable format. Yeah, now it has been completed. Let's see here. When we get into the Diva app here, the manifest file, let us open the same thing with the notepad. Yeah, now this is readable format. See, so we can analyze in two ways. The first one is we have to disassemble the application using the APK tool, and the another thing is if you want to get the source code from the dex file, so you can see the differences. This one is we have directly unzipped the application and extracted. Here you can see lib folder, meta-inf, resource folder, Android manifest. Here dex file, executable file, this thing we have been generated. So this is one way, and the another way, if you use the APK tool, means in 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 this format here also you can see the same thing, but here that the text file will be missing here, because in using the APK tool the application will be disassembled, right? So here you can see the small code files, and now using this thing we can read the application actually. Okay, yeah, like okay, we have done the reversing of the application and we have done the disassemble. So the first thing to look in the application is the manifest file. Okay, and in the first video we have gone with some little bit basic about the manifest file. So inside this we can observe like this application requires three permissions. One is external storage, read storage, write storage, as well as the internet permissions. So in the normal applications we can see if the application requires uh, more than the required permissions, then we can mark it as a negative thing. So that is also one kind of law. And also from the next thing it will comes is here also there are some of the things which you have to look up on the manifest file. Here you can see Android allow backup equal to true, as well as Android debuggable equal to true. So like when the application is sent for the production means, which means when the application is sent for the Play Store or something like that, so the debugger should the developer should make it false, because if the application is debuggable is equal to true means, so here we have observed, like we have connected to the ADB, like if the tester or the attacker connected to the ADB, so he can get all the information from the application. So this thing should be false. If it is true means this application may be vulnerable. And also the another thing is here Android allow backup equal to true. This thing also in some cases it is vulnerable, because here now we can see that Android allow backup equal to true, which means that inside this application whatever the input given by the user, that thing will be stored inside the application itself. So if that is the case, then it should be encrypted. If it is in a plain format, then that is also considered vulnerable. So by default, if we see the manifest file, this thing should be false, or if even if it is true, then the data which is stored on the device should be in encrypted format. And here this is also one major vulnerability. This thing by default we have to mark it false. If it is true means this application is vulnerable. Okay, and also one more thing. And also one more thing to look up. So in this application I think it's not there, and this kind of things you can see uses. Similar kind of thing. So here you can see in this application it's not available, but in another applications you can see. So here if it is uses the clear text traffic equal to true means it is unencrypted, which means it is going on a HTTP traffic. So it is also vulnerable. Like in our previous video we have saw, like the whatever the data it is transmitting from the application to the server, it is going on a plain text. So if it is going on a plain text means, then it is also vulnerable to the application. And so uh, okay, from here we can see Android allow backup equal to true. So based on this thing we can exploit the application. So let's see that first. Okay, see for example we have opened this application, right? So let us do here whatever I am going to name it as Narahari, password also. Okay, if you press the save in the real time applications also, like whatever the data, if you are entering login or whatever it may be, when you press the login or something, if you press the login, save, or something, whatever you may do. So here if it is these kind of things is available, allow backup equal to true means whatever you have entered on the application, it will be stored locally on the device. Okay, so let's see like how we can exploit this thing. Now, oh wait 1 minute. Yeah, let's get into the Android shell. So now inside, see this is the you can see here I have navigated to data slash data. So this is the place where all the applications data will be stored here. So you can see these are a lot of the applications which are available in this Android device, and for each of the application it will be maintaining some kind of data, right? So the data will be stored here. So in this case our application is this thing, jacker.asm.dev. This is the application. So here you can see allow backup equal to true, which means I said to you like it will be storing the data. So let's get into that. Yeah, we have get inside this thing. After that you can see there is one folder called shared briefs. So get inside the thing. Yeah, now you can see cat. If you can see now you can see like we have given the username and we have given the password. So the username, the string was Narahari and the password is also Narahari. You can see in the application. So whenever if we press this thing, so the data has been saved inside this application and it is on the plain text format. So this is the vulnerability. This is the thing like this is how we can exploit if the Android allow backup equal to true means. So not only this thing like from when the application has been installed, all the data it will be recorded and the backup is being stored in the Android application. So that's why it should be false. Okay, even if it is true, then they should use some kind of encryption mechanisms here. They should not be stored in a plain text format. If it is in a plain text format, then it is considered to be vulnerable. Yeah, after that we know like activities, how many activities are available. This thing also we can see from here. They are using login activity, hardcode activity. In the first video I have said you right regarding activity, how what are the activities available on the application, why we have to um, why we have to keep them inside this manifest file. So from this we can understand there are different kind of activities. So the same thing we can verify from here. Here you can see this is one activity, this is one activity. All these activities will be available in here also. If the developer misses to add one activity, then the application may lead to crash. Not only activities, you can see they are using uh, yeah, they are using this thing also. Providers also, they are using content providers. In the first video we have seen, right, some of the applications uses the providers. So here you can see they are using the nodes provider application. So these are the things you have to look for the manifest file. So once again I'm repeating, the main things to look in the manifest file is Android allow backup equal to true. If it is true means it's maybe vulnerable, it should be false. And also the Android debuggable should be false. When the application is to be released, so at that time it has to make it false and they have to send for the production in the Play Store. And the other thing is uh, it uses clear HTTP traffic. It should be false. If it is true means it is going on an unencrypted thing. Everything the data will be in a plain format. Yeah, this is one of the thing we have to look for. After this thing the another thing is uh, the values folder. Now the values folder will be available in the resources folder. So inside this values thing you can see strings. So inside this also you can find some of the important information which is available in the application. So from here I have already analyzed this application. So inside this nothing important was found. So I will be showing you one real time. See here nothing important was hard coded. So I will be showing one application which I did manually. Inside that you may find some of the see this strings I have took from one another real time application. So In the case of this thing, so strings, in the real time applications, what we can say is, the developers, what they will be doing is, some of the APIs, some of the default URLs, some of the default usernames, passwords, that thing, some of the database URLs, they will be kind of hard coding here. So if they want to reuse the thing, they have to again rewrite the whole string. So instead of that, what they will be doing is, in some cases, the important data will be hard coded inside the string. So using this thing also, you can get the vulnerability. So from here, let me come from first. I have analyzed this thing, some of the important things I found here. See, some of the things they have directly encoded here. See, default web client ID, this thing they have encoded, and along with that, the DNS server string they have encoded inside this thing, and they have encoded the DNS version 6 server address. So these things should not add here, because this will give an attacker some kind of information. So not only this thing, we can see some more thing. Let us scroll down. Yeah, here you can see the Firebase URL they have directly encoded here. Actually here there was uh, not this 4x. Here the original applications Firebase URL they have encoded here. So for this demo, I don't want to disclose their database URLs and their sender IDs, their Google API keys. So I have made some kind of modifications here. So here you can see this thing is similar to, right. Yeah, that is, you can see on the strings right here. You can see Firebase database URL. So here you can see the URL, right, the real time database URL. See, this is the URL. Like I have already signed in this application, so that's why it is showing me console.firebase.com. So in the real time scenario, this URL they have directly encoded inside the string. So like when an attacker gets that URL, like he may get into the application, or he may perform some kind of attacks, something like that. So see, uh, this is my application URL. Let's open this in another browser and let's see. Okay, actually, this URL I have removed. If I have this one, then it will prompt for you the permission is, what do you call, permission error, something like that. It will show. So in some of the cases, the problem is, here you can see rules, the database rules. So here, if the in this case the rules are written correct only. So in some of the cases, what it will happen is, even if you don't have the authorization also, sometimes it may ask you for ID password, sometimes it may ask you, because it will be depending on the user rules. So in that case, if the rules is by default, if it is enabled to everyone, means that may be flaw. So here also you can see the project name and the project ID, project number, web API key. So this kind of information, sometimes they will be encoded inside this thing. So here also you can see the Firebase URL, the API keys, and not only regarding this thing, there are different kind of things you can find. If you see much, in some cases you can find the username, sometimes you can find the password, sometimes you can find the URLs, and different kind of things you can see. Yeah, in this thing also you can see this thing also. They are using Google storage buckets. So here also, they have disclosed the URL of the bucket, but I changed manually to another thing, because we don't want to explore this thing. So not only this thing, there are different things we have to look inside the strings also. Yeah, and the next thing is analyzing the source code. So you can in the previous video, we have gone how like what it will be doing, what is the main function, how it is be navigating between them. So these things we have saw. So now let's start with this thing. Let's start with this Diva application. Let's see like how it will be happening. So let us start with the first one. The first one is insecure login. So find out what is being logged, where, how, and the vulnerable code. So actually, for example, let me show you. If you type something, if you check out error record, something it is happening. So in the back end, actually logcat is used to monitor the logs which are generated by this application. So let's run the logcat and observe what it is happening. So the command is this thing, adb logcat find str. Okay, so we have to find the credit thing, right? Credentials, right? So we are using this thing, and let's press enter. So like if you are using adb in Windows means you can use this thing find str. If you are using Linux means you can type the grep. Okay, now you can see whenever you press the checkout, so here it from the application logs it is generating. So this is one kind of flaw, because whatever you are executing on the application, so it should the secret information should not be disclosed in the logs. So here you can see the from the logs it is disclosing. So this is the flaw. They have asked us to show this only. Like we have to using the logcat, we have to gather some kind of information like credential, session IDs, financial detail. But here we have only one user input field. So in the user input field, this is displaying the credential thing. So that's what it is captured here from the credit card. So this is a credit card information. When you press here in using the logcat, we can capture. So first one is this thing. Not only regarding this, using this logcat will find us many vulnerabilities in the real-time application. So whenever you press anything, before that you try to do the logcat running in the backend so that we can gather some kind of information. Okay. Okay, this is the first one, and the second one is hard coding issues. So find out what is hard coded and where. So here they mention, right, developer sometimes will hard code sensitive information. So here there is one vendor key we don't know exactly. So we need to find the when this key in order to get the access. So here uh, like as we said, it is hard coded. Hard coded means you have to get into the application. So let's see, here we can see hard coding issues part 1. So from this we can understand, like, see here they have not done any code specification. So from this we can understand, so what is the class name, what is the activity, hard coding issue. So from this thing we can observe there are two hard coded classes. So let's see, like when you enter into the Java class here, this is a Java class regarding that thing. So from here we can see if the string equals vendor secret key, then toast contact access granted. Yeah, from so access defined, see you in hell. Yeah, you can see here they have directly hard coded the key. Yeah, access granted, see you on the other side, which means we have successfully completed this task. Now let's see the third one, insecure data storage. I think we have done this thing. So let us do again. Yeah, third party credentials saved successfully. Now we have to look for this thing, find out where, how the credential are being stored, and the vulnerable code. Insecure data is storing of, yeah, confidential information, poor encryption. Think this thing we have done. So let us do the thing same again. And now we have got into shell. As I said, the data will be application data will be stored on data section. Then we have to move to the application. Yeah, we have get inside this thing. Now go to the shared preps. See, you can see here the username and password, which is in plain format. That's what they have asked us to do. So let's get into the fourth one. The fourth one is find out where how the hex stored. So okay, let's do the same thing again. So we will give the same whatever you wish. Okay, yeah. Now find out here also the same thing, but we have to yeah. We have saw just now this thing. This one is for the first one, insecure data storage part one. So now we have to look for another thing. So here we can see uh, okay, let's see the source code actually. Yeah, now we have to do insecure data storage part 2. So this is the insecure data storage 2 class. So from here we can observe from the source code we can observe like they are doing the like open database IDS to create table if not exist my user. So from this we can understand it means that there is no data available, so we have to get into this using the database. Okay, so here we can see database folder is already available, so get into the database. And from the source code we can observe here they are using open database IDS 2. So inside this Android application if you want to open you can use SQLite 3 and the name they have given was IDS 2. Yeah, now we have entered successfully. Now let's see what are the tables available inside this thing. So here you can see Android underscore metadata is there and my user is there. So what we'll be doing is let's see. Sorry, I think I have gave space. Yeah, you can see Narahari. So this is the same thing we have gave it during this thing. For the thing Narahari we press the save. So the same thing has been copied and saved inside this thing. So if you see the source code from this we can get many kind of information. So let's do the next one. So insecure data storage by part 3. So here also the same thing, let's give something and press save. So now also you have to find the same kind of thing in a different place. Let's analyze the source code first. Wait, let me close all these things. Yeah, from this we can observe like from the edit text 1 edit text 2, which means these are the two edit text boxes and these are saving inside the file, and here they are using one temp file which is known as uinfo. So let's see if whether we can find it. So let's close this database, we don't need anymore. Get back from the database and yeah, here one file is generated uinfo inside this diva folder. From the source code also we can analyze like they are mentioning like uinfo and temp file will be generated. So let's see whether if something is available inside or not. Yeah, now you can see the data we entered was the username was Narahari and the password was Hari. So the same thing was saved inside this thing. So that's all with the insecure data storage. We have completed that thing. And Okay, let's see this thing. Okay, now the credential has been saved successfully. Now in this fourth phase, it will be stored on the SD card. So in my case, I don't have SD card, so we can't see the thing. Like it will be in the same format. Let me show you. In my Android device, I don't have SD card, so that's why I'm unable to show you. But I can show you. So inside this thing, we will be finding the application, but like we can find the input data what we have done here, but now we can't see. See, you can see inside the storage you can't see anything because there is no SD card in my device. So that thing we are skipping for now. So the next one is input validation. So here what we have to do is try to access user without any username. There are 3 users by default. So here what you can do is, let's try one by one. Narahari. So here it is showing Narahari user not found. So what you can try is, here you can try for the SQL injection. So this is a string 1 or 1 equal to 1, which means in either one of them is true, then it will be true. So this is a string you have to insert here, and let's try. See here, this is working fine. You can see there are 3 users, and the 3 users name, ID, pass, credential details, everything you can see from this thing. So that's all with the insecure data storage one. Okay, now here we can see we have to try accessing any sensitive information apart from a web URL. So here let's try. So it will generate in the DOM. So here what we have to do is, instead of giving the URL, we have to look out for some another files from the device. So you can try this thing. See, so here what we are doing is, we are directly accessing the data which is available on the device. And not only this thing, we can do anything we want. And okay, let's do the same thing we have done before. We will see the data. See here, you can see the username and the password. So using this thing, what it is happening is, here the input validation is not happening correctly. So that's why in the place of URL, even if we get into the device storage, it is actually displaying over all the things. So the next thing is, input validation has been completed. So now access control issues. So let's see the access control issues. uh, Now okay, in this case they are directly showing. So what we have to do is, you are able to access when you click the button. Now you try to access the API from outside an application. Okay, so what we have to do is, inside this application, if you press, it will be showing, but without pressing that button, you have to display the credentials. So further thing, As I said before, we will try with logcat first. Yeah, let's run. Yeah, see, you can observe the difference here. Now the logcat is running. Like whenever we press this access control issues one, what is the log? It has been generated newly. So this is the log. It is being generated newly. From here we can see like it is displaying this thing. Dot API creates activity. You got it. So we have to look. We have to look for this thing. Using that we can see. It means like whenever the button is pressed, so it means that this activity we have to look inside the thing. So let's do the thing. API creates activity. So yeah, inside this thing it is showing actually the secret key, the API key, and the username. uh, Here also I think it should like whenever you run the logcat, so here you will be getting the activity manager, right? So whenever you will be getting the activity manager, from there also we can see based on the here it is displaying. uh, you can see dot API creates activity. So if you get inside this API creates activity source code, you can observe the API key as well as the username as well as the password. So that's all. Now let's get into the 10th one. And okay, so the another thing how you can do regarding this thing is instead of doing this thing also, it's fine. So from here we can observe this thing, right? Dot API creates activity. So wait 1 minute. Yeah, so from this what you can do is, now we have gathered this thing. So we have got this thing. What is the activity manager? So what is the activity it is using? So now ADB shell AM means for activity manager. So let's start hyphen new, and then copy this thing, copy the activity which is displaying there. Yeah, that's all right. If you press and wait, now if you press enter, so so without clicking the button it actually changed, right? See, because even though if we are not pressing the button, what we are doing is from the back end using the activity manager, we are executing then the next activity. So that's why you are able to see here without pressing the button. So this is the task we have to do. Try to access the API without pressing the button. That's what we have to do, right, outside the app. So we are using the same way. Now let's see the same thing in the next one, access control part 2. Okay, so let's start this one. First start logcat, because we don't know what it will happen. Yeah, let's run and let's press this thing. So here also the same thing. What they ask us to do is without clicking this button you have to get in. So here also we have got the same thing, API credit to activity. Let's copy and let's try again the same thing we have done before. Yeah, now here in this case we can observe, like in the previous case whenever we press this thing here it was directly it displayed the API details, but here you can see they are not displaying any API details. Here they are directly showing us API credentials. So what we can do is, so from this we observe like this is one kind of activity. So let's go and analyze the source code. So API creates to activity. Yeah, and inside this thing you can see you have one condition, right? See, this is a condition. Where is the thing? Yeah, here they are displaying us to register yourself and then log in with that pin. So here this is the else statement. So what we have to do is, instead of this thing we have to execute the top statement. So instead of the top statement what they gave is, they have gave one if not get intent boolean get extra boolean extra get string true. So here what you have to do is, like if the string is this thing then it should be true, and then after that whenever it is happened, so this thing it will be displayed. So according to this according to here what we have to do is, here also the same thing, we have to display the API username, API password, API key without giving anything from the user input. So here they are asking us to do, yeah. So now what we can do is, here they have gave this thing, the string value they have gave. So what we will be doing is, from here let's see, let's copy this thing, and inside the R class we can see the same thing. Wait, let's search this thing. Yeah, here we can see, so here they are using check pin, chk underscore pin. So let us copy this thing, and what we'll be doing is, again we will get into the logcat, and let's copy the same thing again. So the activity will be declaring here. After that what we'll be doing is, we have to give this thing, because we are mentioning uh, so here also the task is the same thing, right? So we should not enter anything inside the box, but we have to perform outside of the thing. So that's why we are using this method, and what we are doing is, we are changing from true to false, because if it is true because if this is true, then every time you will be executing this thing only, because here they gave not get intent. So what we have to do is, we have to make it false. So if we make it false, then only this thing will be executed. So for that reason we are directly making we are making it false, and let's run. See, yeah, now you can see, now this has been executed. and now we have successfully bypassed the application. So the next thing is access control list issues part 3. So here also the same thing. What we have to do is we have to first create any pin. Let us do 1 2 3 4. Okay, now the pin has been created successfully. Private nodes, uh, 1 2 3 4. Yeah, now this thing you can see, right? So here also the same thing. What you have to do is without touching anything or without entering without pressing this go to private nodes, you have to open the uh, we have to open this thing. This should be displayed on the device. So let's do the same thing. First adb logcat find string diva. Let's run. Now let's click go to private node. So here from here we can see. Now here also you are getting the activities, right? So now we'll be copying this activity. Now let's get into the source code again. Control 3 nodes activity. Yeah, you can see from the source code, and after the getting the string they are asking string equals upload, they are getting into the adapter, and yeah, from here they are using these things nodes provider, and they are using the content provider, right? Nodes provider or content URI. So let's press this thing. So here inside that thing they have given the URI dot parse, which means from this they are getting the content means like the string which we saw. If you enter this pin, you'll be seeing this data, right? So this data is getting from the content provider. So the path for the content provider is here, you can see. So this is the thing. So let's copy this thing. Let's copy the URI path, and what we'll be doing is again get into the adb shell content query URI. Let's paste this thing and let's press enter. Yeah, see here you can see now whatever displayed on the screen, the same thing it has been displaying here. So here you can see exercise alternate days running, exercise alternate running. So this is the task you have to do here. So here also the same thing, without entering the without entering the button you have to access the thing. So here in this case what we have done is first we have created one pin. Okay, so after that we have now we have using the logcat we have observed like this is the activity it is running. So we have entered this activity access control 3 activity. Inside this you can observe like they are using the provider. So nodes provider they are using, and they have one content URI. So when you press that content URI, so it is displaying the path. So you are copying this thing inside the adb shell and giving the activity. So now it is displaying all the things. So that's all regarding this thing. I think now we have done with access controlling also. So the next thing is hard coding issues part 2. So inside this hard code issue part 2, let's see, find out hard coder. So let's give something and let's see access denied, see you in hell. So what we have to do is we have to look for this source code hard coding issues part 2, or else if we will, let's run the adb also. Let's see, let's run. We are not sure what it will be displaying. So here in the logcat you can observe nothing has been changing. So from the logcat we can't do anything. It means we have to get into the source code analysis. So hard coding, hard code activity 2. Yeah, from here we can see. So wait, let me close all these things. Yeah, from here they are using one more private thing, and yeah, so for us we are getting these things. So we are getting the else statement. So what we have to do is if this dot access, so then it will be displaying access granted. So let's get into this private function. Inside this thing nothing was there. Let's see whether it may work or not. Inside this also they have hard coded something, but we don't know whether it will work or not. Let's try. Yeah, it is showing access is denied. So from the source code also we can't say anything, and from the logcat also we are not getting anything. So what we'll be doing is uh, let's see the path inside this application. So let's see the local data, and inside this thing we have saw the shared preferences. There's nothing was there, and databases we have, so nothing was there. So let's get into library folder. Can't read this thing, so it's in encrypted format. So what we have to do is uh, let's look for strings from this thing. See, these are all the strings available inside this file. So I have tried all the strings. So out of this one was a working string. Yeah, now you can see access granted. See you on the other side. So this is a difficult one, but what we can do is like if we use the object dump or something like that. So we can inside that it will be directly showing you the string, but I'm using this windows. Inside this windows I have not installed this thing. So that's why anyhow I have previously used this application, so I know like which is the exact string we have to copy. So this is the exact string, or else what you have to do is you have to use object dump, and from there you have to read the data, and out of that also it will be showing this thing. So this is the thing you have to look for, and I think that's all. And there is also input validation. The final one is this one, input validation issues part 3. So this thing we can't do right now, because for this thing we need GDB debugger we need to use. So in my Windows I don't have this debugger. So I think that's all with this thing. We have completed the static analysis as well as the dynamic analysis from this Diva application. I think that's all with this thing. Next, if possible, what I will be doing is we will be taking one vulnerable application and using the burp suit. We will see how it will be happening, like how we have to connect with the burp suit, this Android application. Then how we will be monitoring the, like how we will be intercepting and monitoring the traffic, and inside that also there will be different kind of bugs we have to look for. That thing I think we will see later. So as of now I have made these 2 videos. We have performed different kind of things, like uh, we saw introduction to Android. After that we have done with the Android application development in the developer's point of view, how an application is built. After that we have done the code analysis, and we have done static analysis as well as the dynamic analysis. For this testing purpose we have used the Diva vulnerable application, as well as we have built one more application. Inside that we have saw this reverse TCP connection to the attacker, as well as we have saw the WebGL vulnerabilities. And in the future, if it possible, so what we'll be doing is we'll be dealing with connecting the burp suit and intercepting the data, and we'll be covering some kind of bugs and vulnerabilities. Thank you.